Hi, I'm Clara Thompson, and I've recently inherited a sprawling, ancient mansion from my late grandmother. You'd think I'd be thrilled about my new home, but there's something sinister lurking within its walls. Ever since I moved in, I've felt an unshakable presence, as if the house itself is alive with memories of my ancestors, particularly one, Alice Thompson, my infamous great-great-grandmother. She was rumored to have dabbled in dark magic, and whispers of her legacy have haunted my family for generations. As I've started to uncover the secrets of the mansion, I've come face to face with the darkness that has been passed down through the ages. After weeks of renovations, I finally settled into the mansion. The high ceilings and grand archways had once been filled with dust and despair, but I had worked tirelessly to breathe new life into the place. It was early evening when I first began to feel the weight of the past pressing down on me. A storm was brewing outside, casting flickering shadows that danced along the walls, and for the first time, I felt a chill creeping down my spine. One rainy night, while I was organizing the attic, I stumbled across a hidden door behind a stack of old trunks. Curiosity piqued, I pushed it open and descended into a narrow staircase that led to a dimly lit basement. As I reached the bottom, my breath caught in my throat. There, in the center of the room, was a massive chest, adorned with intricate carvings and covered in dust. My heart raced as I opened the chest, revealing a trove of letters, each one more tattered than the last. The first letter I picked up was addressed to Alice Thompson herself. The ink was faded, but I could make out the words. "Dearest Alice, the townsfolk have begun to murmur. They believe you've turned to dark magic. You must be cautious." I felt a chill run through me. What had Alice done? As I sifted through the letters, I began to piece together a narrative filled with pain, fear, and desperation. It became clear that Alice was once a woman of great power, someone who had been gifted with abilities that others feared. But those gifts came with a price. The more I read, the clearer the picture became. Alice was a figure of both fear and fascination, with tales of her abilities and the horrors that followed her like a dark cloud. One article, dated 1892, detailed the disappearance of several children from the nearby village. The mothers spoke of strange lights in the woods, it read, and whispers calling to their children. Some believe that Alice Thompson, in her desperation to save her own sick child, resorted to dark magic to protect her family. My heart raced as I pieced together the legacy of suffering my family had endured. I couldn't help but wonder how many had suffered because of Alice's choices and what terrible price she had paid for her powers. Another article mentioned a fire that consumed the town's church, claiming several lives. Witnesses reported seeing a figure resembling Alice Thompson standing outside the church, chanting in a language they could not understand. It became increasingly clear that my ancestor had not only dabbled in the occult, but had also caused immeasurable pain to others in her pursuit of power. As I left the library, a sense of urgency washed over me. I needed to confront my family's past, and I needed answers. I returned to the mansion, my resolve strengthened. I would find a way to end this curse, to lift the weight of Alice's choices from my shoulders. The following evening, I descended into the hidden room once again, determined to face whatever darkness lay within. Armed with a flashlight and a journal to document my findings, I entered the room where I had discovered the chest of letters. This time, I was ready to confront my family's past head-on. The air felt thick, electric with anticipation as I approached the chest. I opened it and began sifting through the letters again, this time looking for clues that might help me understand the rituals Alice had performed. There were references to names I didn't recognize, incantations scribbled in the margins, and descriptions of ancient symbols. My heart raced as I flipped through the pages, desperation driving me to find anything that might help. Then, I stumbled upon a letter that stood out from the rest, addressed to someone named Lydia. It detailed a ritual meant to sever ties to the dark forces Alice had summoned. The instructions were complex, filled with warnings and ancient symbols. It spoke of a blood sacrifice, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. Only by offering the blood of the one who binds you can you hope to break free from the curse, it read ominously. What does that even mean? I muttered to myself, my heart pounding. Could I really go through with something so drastic? I had never believed in such rituals, but I could feel the weight of the darkness pressing in around me, suffocating me with its insistence. Just then, a low growl echoed through the room, and I froze. The shadows coalesced in the corners, and I felt the unmistakable sensation of being watched. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but the letters in front of me felt like the key to my salvation. Finish what was started. The whisper echoed in my mind, urging me to make a decision. The weight of my ancestry pressed down on me, and for the first time, I felt the desperate need to take action. I couldn't let the cycle of pain continue. I had to break free. That night, I gathered the items needed for the ritual things I found in the chest, a silver dagger, a bowl, and herbs that Alice had written about. I followed the instructions as closely as I could, marking a circle on the floor with salt to protect myself. I lit candles around the perimeter, their flickering flames casting eerie shadows on the walls. With my heart racing, I stood at the center of the circle, the silver dagger trembling in my grip. I took a deep breath and called upon the spirits that had haunted my family for generations. I am Clara Thompson, descendant of Alice. I seek to sever the ties that bind my family to this darkness. I offer my blood to break this curse. The room grew colder, the shadows swirling around me, and I felt a presence loom closer. The air crackled with energy, and I knew I had their attention. I pressed the dagger to my palm, the sharp metal biting into my skin. Blood dripped into the bowl as I repeated the incantation from the letter, my voice growing stronger with each word. Suddenly, the shadows converged, and I felt an icy grip on my throat. I gasped for breath, panic rising within me as I struggled against the darkness that threatened to consume me. My vision blurred, and I realized the spirits were angry. They were unwilling to let go. But I wouldn't surrender. I had to fight. I pushed through the pain and whispered a final plea. I am not Alice. I will not carry this burden any longer. With that declaration, a blinding light erupted from the bowl, illuminating the room with a fierce radiance. The shadows screamed, writhing in the light, and I felt their grip on me weaken. I raised my arms, the light enveloping me, and I could feel the curse breaking, shattering like glass around me. When the light faded, I collapsed to the floor, breathless but free. The oppressive weight that had haunted me for so long was gone. The room was quiet, the air still and calm. I could hardly believe what had just transpired. I had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. The following days were a blur. I felt lighter, as if a great burden had been lifted from my shoulders. The mansion felt different too. No longer an oppressive entity but a home filled with echoes of the past, now tempered with the promise of a brighter future. In the weeks that followed, I began to renovate the house, determined to turn it into a space of light and warmth. I painted the walls bright colors, replaced the heavy drapes with sheer curtains that let the sunlight stream in, and filled the rooms with laughter and life. I invited friends over, hosted gatherings, and transformed the mansion into a home, no longer a prison of secrets. Yet, even as I moved forward, I couldn't shake the feeling that the echoes of my ancestors lingered. One night, while standing in the newly redecorated living room, I glanced at the old mirror I had uncovered in the hidden room. It had remained untouched since that night, a reminder of the darkness I had faced. Curiosity tugged at me, and I approached it cautiously. As I wiped away the dust, my reflection stared back, but this time it looked different. It was still me, but there was a strength in my eyes that hadn't been there before. "You did it," I whispered to myself, feeling a sense of pride wash over me. In that moment, I realized that my family's legacy didn't have to be defined by darkness. I could forge my own path, break the cycle of pain, and create a new narrative for future generations. As I stood before the mirror, a smile formed on my lips. I would share my story, not just of the darkness I had inherited, but of the strength it took to overcome it. I would honor my ancestors, not through fear, but through love and resilience. The mansion, once a place of shadows, had transformed into a sanctuary, a symbol of hope and a testament to the power of breaking free from the past. I would continue to uncover my family's history, but this time, I would do it on my terms.